Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hanging Out for a Living. I'm your host, Teresa Oshman, and today joining us is Jolana Hollister, photographer, creative visionary, entrepreneur, community builder, and co-founder of the Breast Cancer Confidence Project. Jolana has a background in psychology and more than a decade behind the camera. Jolana has built a business centered around helping people feel seen, whether she's capturing families, entrepreneurs, survivors, or the quiet, authentic moments that often matter most. Her work has even been featured internationally, including a photography exhibition in Prague. But what may stand out even more is the heart behind everything she does, from mentoring entrepreneurs to giving back through projects that empower others through confidence and connection. So today we're diving into creativity, purpose, entrepreneurship, and what it really means to help people see themselves differently. Jolana, thank you so much for joining me and hanging out with me today.
Thank you for having me and for that amazing intro. You made me sound so good.
You are so good. Let all that in because it's the truth. So let's dive into
Thank
our
you.
questions. You combine psychology and photography in such a really unique way. How has understanding human behavior and emotion changed the way you approach your work behind the camera?
Like you said, I studied psychology, and I think for me, psychology or photography is so much more about just taking a photo.
Mhm.
When you think about going to a photo shoot, it's usually you think, I'm going to stand somewhere, I'm going to pose,
Yeah.
we're going to snap some photos, and that's it. But for me, I feel like it's about being vulnerable. And when we're able to be vulnerable and have self-worth and not have fear of judgment and feel like we belong where we're at, that shows through completely differently on the camera, and that's really what I aim to do. So what I do, I call them photography experiences, because to me, it's more than just showing up. It's creating an environment where my clients can feel seen and feel like they belong. And that gives them a chance to see themselves differently. It gives them a chance to grow their confidence. Um, with experiences, we love doing things that push your comfort zones a little bit.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when we push our comfort zones, especially like for example, if I'm working with couples, if I give them something that pushes their comfort zone and activity, that heightens their emotions, that also heightens their connection. When you do something that is outside your comfort zone with a person that you're with, it will heighten that connection between the two. And so then it becomes about so much more than a photo shoot. It becomes about really connecting on a deeper level. And whether that's family, whether that's couples, even with yourself, with boudoir, a lot of times it's just connecting with yourself on a level that you haven't and seeing yourself through a different lens. Um, and so that's really how I connect the psychology with it.
I
I
love
don't know
it.
if that all makes
It
sense.
does. It does. I love that you also included the fact that it helps to connect with yourself. It gives you
Yes.
that. That's huge. Um, it,
I
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a part where in today's world, and I know that's a question further, so I'm not going to dive too much into it,
Oh,
but it's hard for us to connect with ourselves because of what media tells us we should be doing and we should look like and all of these things. And it becomes hard for people to really live in the moment and be able to just let go of everything else. And so that's kind of what I built my business on. And I feel like my mission statement that I don't really necessarily put out there, but it's like my own when I approach anything, explains it really well, which is to provide experiences through high-end photography that elicit a sense of belonging, connection, to yourself, others, and nature, and empowerment. And that's really how I take that psych side and connect it in with the photos. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care about a pretty photo. I mean, obviously, we all want like wall-worthy photos,
right.
but for me, I want photos that when you look at, you're like, wow, like I remember that experience, and you have all these memories, and it helps you see yourself authentically. So when you see the photo, you see who you truly are, and you see your beauty and your confidence and your abilities versus looking at it and being like, oh, that's pretty, but I don't feel like it's me in the moment.
So I'm going to flip these questions around because this one's good segue into what I was going to ask you, not next, but after. So let's go to that one. So you talk a lot about authentic human connection. You just did here. In a world that feels increasingly digital and filtered, why do you think genuine connection matters now more than ever?
Oh, it matters so much. So I believe my purpose on this earth is human connection and to help people connect. Um, the digital age is great, right? It lets
Yeah.
us connect with people across the world, lets us know what's happening across the world, but it doesn't give us a place to be authentic and to be fully ourselves and not judged. If anything, it gives us a space to feel like we're being constantly judged. We're constantly worried about what we're saying. We're constantly worried about when I put this on Facebook or Instagram,
Yep.
what are people going to see? They're going to see everyone's going to look at your stuff through their own lens, which means a
Yeah,
lot of times things get misinterpreted, intentions get lost, and it almost makes it a colder, lonelier place because you no longer feel like you can be yourself. And when we can't authentically fully be ourselves, we don't really connect.
that's true.
Um, and so for me, what was the question again?
We were talking about why you think genuine connection matters more
Oh,
than ever. You talked
yes.
about the digital, you talked a little bit about that.
So the authentic connection, I think it matters more now than ever because it makes us feel like we're actually genuinely being seen and understood by another human. And that's really what I try to bring with anything that I do is create a community that people can come to and feel like they can be themselves, your quirky, awkward, weird, whatever self. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you
Exactly.
awesome. And the more we feel like we can do that, the more we have genuine connections that
Mhm.
make us feel seen and we don't feel like we have to put on this performative action or we need to mask our emotions because I know that's a huge one. Just recently learned I used to mask my emotions like crazy, and I'm finally at a point where I'm like, I just want to be myself. There's so
Mhm.
much effort and energy that goes into trying to be something we're not just so that we can be accepted. And so I think that's why it's so important to have genuine human connection that you can be yourself and you don't have to put on a mask and be somebody else because that's when we're best. That's when we're
Yeah.
at our best. That's when we can be most creative, and that's when
Mhm.
we offer the most to this world.
Absolutely. And ever so important now with AI, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's,
Yeah, that's a big one. Especially, and I see it in the photography world too, where people try to like have AI create their photos, and it's like, that's great. It kind of looks like you, but you didn't get to live that experience, and you're never going to fully be able to connect to those images because it's still something that was created for you. It's not you in that image that gets to embrace that feeling and those emotions.
absolutely. So true. Yeah. The Breast Cancer Confidence Project is really, really powerful. Can you share how that project began and what it has taught you about confidence, identity, and human resilience?
Absolutely. So the Breast Cancer Confidence Project is near and dear to my heart. It is how I found what I believe my purpose in this world is going through and starting this project. So it started with Michaela and I. Michaela is my co-founder in it, and she was diagnosed at 29 with an aggressive form of breast cancer. Her friend paid for me to do her boudoir shoot beforehand just to have those photos of, before your body goes through all the changes.
Yeah.
And we really connected. She reached out and asked me if I would be willing to document her whole journey through breast cancer. Um, and what she found through us doing that together, which instantly I said, yes, I'm there for it. What we found is that she expected to see weakness and sadness and just have these negative emotions about her body. But seeing these photos really revealed her strength to her, and she was
Mhm.
able to see the beauty through the process. And it really helped in her healing emotionally. There's not a lot out there for breast cancer thrivers and survivors when it comes to reconnecting with your body. There's a lot, dealing with emotional effects with family and relationships. There's a lot to do
Sure.
with the physical, but there's not much that really tackles body image at all. And that affects 2 out of 3 survivors. We have 1 in 8 women in New York State alone will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So if you do all those numbers, that is a huge portion of the population that
Definitely.
doesn't feel at home in their body. And when she realized that, she approached me. I was like, hey, do you want to start a nonprofit and do this for more women? Because I think a whole lot more women need what I got out of it. And it was an instant yes. I was
I love it. I
on
love
board.
it. Well, it actually builds really nicely into our last question, and that is you've built a business that blends the creativity, community service, and entrepreneurship. So, what advice would you give someone who wants to create meaningful work while still building a successful business around it?
Yes. So my number one is to find out their why. I did this exercise from Maddie May. She's a acclaimed photographer who does what a little bit of what I do. And so I did a lot of education through her, and one of her big things is find what your why is. So if you're familiar with the golden circle, Simon
Yes,
Sinek's golden
Simon.
circle,
Yep,
that
Simon
middle
Sinek.
part is your why. And
Yeah.
if you're in a job or an industry that you're in it for the money, or you think because, oh, well, I really like this, so I'm going to go into it, but it doesn't truly connect to who you are on the inside, it's going to be a little more difficult to feel like you have that purpose and to be able to make money doing what you love. And the big thing for me is when we connect to our why. So when I did this exercise, you can Google it. There's an exercise you can do that like helps you find out what that why is, looking at your highs in your life, your lows, and then what made those highs so high for you. And that kind of pulls out a reoccurring theme in your life of what is important to you. And when I did that, I found for me, my why was creating safe spaces for people to feel like they belong, creating community, and helping with human connection. That's really what my why is. And it ties so well into what I do. But when I did that exercise, I actually altered a little bit of my trajectory with my business because I realized I needed those experiences and they're way more than just regular photo sessions. So my advice to anyone who wants to do this is find out what your true why is, and not why in business, but why you're on this earth, and use that to then create a business where you can authentically be yourself in it. People, especially like we just talked about with AI and
Oh, yeah.
everything else in the world, are really drawn to actually connecting with a person. And that makes a huge difference nowadays. We don't buy it for the end product. We look at the business, we look at who owns it, what their beliefs are, and we want to feel like we can connect with them. So do that. Make sure you still charge your worth. I know there's this hard thing of you still have to make a living. If you aren't making enough to have a living out of it, then all it does is cause stress and burnout, and it makes you not enjoy what is important to you. So create a business that you can have a sustainable living from, and that gives you the opportunity to help and do more. I know there's a lot of times like, well, I love doing this and I want everyone to have it, but if you can make a sustainable living, which might mean you have to raise your prices,
Yeah.
it gives you the opportunity to then volunteer and do more because you have a living where you can actually live and not
Right.
worry and stress paycheck to paycheck. And so that gives you that opportunity to actually help more. And the more we are in a good state, we can be more creative, we can help more people. And so just, I don't know if that answers the
That's
question,
perfect. No, it's
but
absolutely perfect. And for those that are not familiar with the Golden Circle, what Yolanda was referring to, you can Google Golden Circle. It's part of a book written by Simon Sinek, Sinek, I believe he spells his last name, but it's really a great read. So just Google Golden Circle and Simon should pop up. And I know this is not a paid endorsement by any means, but it's a great book, and it's really a great, you'll start thinking a little bit differently. And so I got to tell you, Yolanda, it's been so great to hang out with you.
yes, thank
And
you.
you're welcome. Thank you. And for those of you watching or listening in, if today's conversation resonated with you, I hope you'll take a moment to connect with Yolanda. Her contact information and links are included in the description of this video. And if you enjoy this episode of Hanging Out for a Living, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration and human connection. So, thanks again so much for hanging out with us, everybody. And until next time, keep building meaningful connections wherever life may take you. Until next time, bye bye.